Hi everyone, this is Veroosh and this is your full moon overview for August 22nd full moon in Aquarius. This is the second video I'm making for the full moon. Today we're going to cover astrology, tarot, and activated chart positions. If you want to really understand the mechanics of what's going on, I suggest you watch part 1 or the astrological overview, as there are some really beautiful astrological symmetries that are going on with this full moon. That video and all the videos pertaining to this full moon are located in the full moon playlist, in the cards, and in the description down below. Next, I'm going to do an astrological summary. This does not feature any transits. It's just an overview of the major effects of the full moon in plain English. It's only a few minutes long, so if you want to get familiar with what's going on, please listen to that next. After that, we are going to do the collective tarot card reading, and members, you have an extended in the members only section. In fact, there are 2 full readings for members this time. Those will be also included in the full moon playlist. After the collective reading, I will go over the activated chart positions. This will include the best zodiac sign affected by this full moon, as well as personal planet activated positions by the full moon that I alluded to in the astrological overview video. The activated chart positions is a new feature on my channel in which I will tell you specifically which dates in the last 80 years have been activated by the current transit. For this purpose, we will be using specific years and seasons to identify dates of interest. At the end of the video, I have a small update to the astrology that I've described, as after I posted my video, there were world events that happened that mirrored what I said in the astrological overview. Namely, the Canadian government has called for an election on the Pisces full moon that I described in that previous video. In that last part, I will touch on the significance of the Pisces full moon again, as well as another activation point by Mars and Mercury of the kite formation that I described in the astrological part 1 video. As always, thank you for watching, thank you for being members, and thank you for being my friends. I hope you are enjoying this series, and I wish you the best of luck for the full moon and the rest of the year. Hi everyone, this is your astrological summary for the full moon on August 22nd, 2021. All of the statements that I'm making in the summary are derived from either the tarot or the astrological transits that were described in the astrological overview video linked in the corner. This information is presented in a slow and methodical way for your reflection. Some of you may find that listening to this section is better while wearing headphones. Let's begin. This full moon brings us all into a kinder light. The initial stages of Saturn's transit in Aquarius is complete, and we have all been shown what must change in our lives. This is the path of true compassion, the honesty and raw brutality of seeing what factors are prevalent in our lives, whether it's a need to embrace the new or reintroduce the familiar. We will be making these choices from this point until the Pisces full moon on September 20th. The prevailing energy of Venus ruling this full moon brings an overwhelming energy of love, that is supported by the Sun's conjunction with the fixed star Regulus, the Star of Kings. This star will amplify the Sun's light to the energy of royalty in all of our hearts, and amplify bravery and kindness in truth as the highest frequency. Throughout the time between the full moon in August to September, you will begin gathering all the data points about your experience that have been introduced to you throughout the summer months. You will feel compelled to reach out to others in the spirit of love, and the right people will reach out to you as well. These are your new allies for the frequency moving forward. Choosing healthy situations and friends at this time is most important, because the latter part of the year will once again push you to make fundamental changes in your life. By either embracing what you've learned already or by forging new experiences. There is no one right path. The only true path is the path of authenticity, and that is only achieved by the heart. The strong energies at the end of August will help you ground these perspectives and initiate these new beginnings. Doubting that it has started is a waste of time. Even if it feels strange to you, entrench yourself in this fundamental shift in energy. Keep practicing without doubt, and soon it will become second nature. On the day of the full moon, Virgo season begins. Before this, the moon shifts into Pisces, activating the water and earth polarity. Remember the void, of course, as your primary energy. Sit in stillness and make a pact with yourself, with the universe. That is your true beginning. Exist in purity between 5:02 a.m. to 5:42 a.m. Pacific Time, while the moon is in the stage of heightened energy of the full moon, but yet the consolidation of the void of course. Find peace in stillness. The balancing point between the past and the future, the eternal energy of the present. You are now free, if you dare, choose, and are brave enough to be. The power of choice is with you forever. It is your choice to listen. This is your collective message for the full moon. This is a message for everyone. It's for all the signs. And members, I will do an extended in the members only section, so go and check that out as well. A couple people ask why I'm putting out so much content for members. It's because at the beginning of the year, I wasn't putting out as much. And so I kind of want to compensate you guys for being awesome and having my back through this very volatile time that's for all of us. So I want you guys to know that you're special and that you mean a lot to me, and I want to make sure that it's fair and square between us, okay? So we're taking a look at the frequency of the full moon. I'm doing just the tarot, an intuitive tarot read, to get a good feeling of the frequencies. The next section will be the astrology. I'm somewhat familiar with the astrology already, but I'll do a deep dive later through it and get back to you with that tomorrow. You'll see it all in one video. I'm telling you my work schedule. But anyway, let's take a look at your frequencies, okay? So we have this hermit energy. Yeah, I really felt that before, that in some way we are all hermiting away. And it's not just Virgo energy, which the hermit represents. The hermit can represent us all pulling away. And the frequency that I was sensing was that there's a lot of information that we're processing at this time. There's a lot of things happening around us, a lot of things in the air, and we're finding our place in it. So, we're just trying to figure out who we are again. Then we have the 10 of Pentacles. Listen, trust the intuition of people around you, specifically family and people who you care about and friends. They're going to tell you very important advice and information at this time to help you through this full moon frequency. By the way, the full moon frequency really stays with us for an indefinite amount of time. For some people, it will be a couple days. For some people, it will be a week. And in some instances, the residual effects will last years. So, when people try to pinpoint how long it lasts, that all depends. But it is a very big energy that is with us at this time. Then we have the moon energy. Ladies, looking good. So what this represents is that women are going to be very alluring and beautiful at this time. It's the 29th degree of Aquarian frequency. So it's like, on the cusp of Pisces, which the moon represents. And so this is Pisces rules the moon card. So there's this sort of very mystical area in the chart between Pisces and Aquarius. I wish my moon was there. It's just tad off of it, but I wish it was there. So there's this gentle beauty and a gentle energy there. The next message is the Page of Pentacles, Virgo, Taurus, or Capricorn. Secondary energies in Earth as well. Very earthy energies. Masculine energies are starting new things, new projects, new beginnings, and new endeavors. There's a lot of excitement in the air for the new projects that we're starting. And we have the Devil card in the collective. So in this position, what this represents is that Capricorn people may be important. So let's take that out of the way. But if we're not talking about Capricorn people, there could be some power struggles in our social groups. And it's not necessarily directed at you. There could be struggles between people in certain ways. There could be like push and pull energy that you might get pulled into, people wanting competitive stuff or competing with each other for things. So be patient with this energy. And I think that you're pulling back, which is like a natural response of self-protection, which makes sense. Then we have the Hanged Man, which is ruled by Neptune, which is Pisces ruler. So we have strong Pisces energy here. If you're waiting on certain circumstances with family to work out or to get an answer on something to do with family, there's a wait for a reason. Well, that's what this is saying. So, not everything is coming at the time that you expect it to, but the wait there's a reason behind it, and it's kind of within the larger order of things as they're supposed to be. So there's a reason why there's certain delays in terms of your family relationships, maybe seeing someone or hearing something from someone in your family. There is definitely a waiting period here, and it's justified. So it's not, if you're worried, why am I waiting for this situation to work itself out, to find an answer or a resolution? What this is suggesting is that essentially that it's meant to be, okay? And it's going to work out. It's just in its own time. Then we have the Sun energy here. And so in this position, I just think that there's a great resilience to the world around you at this time. Aquarian energy has I have an Aquarian moon. If you guys don't know, I'm your local weirdo. Hey. And so Aquarian energy can be very, with the sun there, it can be very, how do you say this? Aquarian energy can be very matter of fact, and no matter how crazy things are, they're happy and content. So I think that amid a lot of different things that are polarizing at this time, because you're getting the good and the bad, the whole enchilada. You're getting all of the answers right there. Amid all the information that's coming into your life, you see the bigger picture, and you're okay with it. It's a beautiful picture, and you're well in it. There's a happiness in your life. There's a contentment. I think that there's also like a peace of mind that things are working out in the way that they're supposed to. And I think that some things, if something is coming up to a head in your social environment, which is Aquarian energy, 11th house, then I think that you feel at peace with it because you feel as though it's getting resolved or there's a resolution there. Then we have Moon in Taurus, the 6 of Pentacles. And what this represents is that at this time, generosity, being open to others, just really free spirit is going to take you in very good directions at this time. So trust the people around you, trust the people that you know, build relationships rather than trying to ostracize them. Now, there's a little bit of a different message here. On the one hand, we're meant to pull away and kind of sit back and be by ourselves. That's that observing side of us that's paying attention to whatever is going on. But here we have the 6 of Pentacles, which represents that in some way we're supposed to be open-hearted and welcoming to others. So welcome other people in, be generous of spirit. Just don't be a doormat. I think that's the bottom line, is like be open and receive others well, but also don't put yourself in situations in which that can be an issue. Then we have the 5 of Swords. Okay. There's a situation that you don't necessarily have control over, and this isn't for everyone. And I think that there's this frequency here of allowing it to wait. You have to literally wait it through, wait it out, allow it to have its say, allow it to have its day. And then when it passes, it's futile for you to try to address it. It's futile for you to try to resolve it at this time. And I think you recognize it. You know, a person whose mind is made up is not necessarily something that you can convince otherwise or otherwise, resolve in terms of an issue. The next message is the 10 of Wands, which is Sun in Sagittarius. You guys have a tough card for your Sun, hey? But it's kind of a good card. It's you taking a lot on. And like I said already, I feel like the plethora, the variety of things around you at this time are all contributing to your well-being. They're all contributing to your well-being, to the bigger picture. So the good and the bad are actually something that is helping you along. I think you're going to be very busy through this time. I think some of you might take on like the new job and continue with an old job. So you might be doing double time for a time in terms of your energy, in terms of your effort. The next energy is the Queen of Pentacles, a Virgo, Taurus, or Capricorn. Secondary transits in water, Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio. I think that there's a balancing out of a situation with an earth sign female, possibly. I think that there's kind of an establishment of personal boundaries with others at this time that's going to be very important. I think you're separating yourself from others who take up too much time and too much energy, and really focus in on yourself because you want the best. There's a lot going on and you want the best choice. And so your goal at this time is to find that best choice, find the best energy, and figure out exactly which way to go, how to problem solve things in your life, how to figure out which direction you need to go, what will be the best approach to things, how to get around some difficult energy in terms of friends, in terms of people who, you might know that are acting kind of crazy or throwing imbalance into social situations. We have the Ace of Cups. This is a very good message for those of you who have begun a relationship. If you have a crush, if you have recently begun a relationship, or if your current relationship has taken on like more flavor, more positive energy in the last little while. This is saying that relationship quality will continue. So if you're wondering whether this crush will continue, whether you'll still see each other again, in these more beginning stages of relationships, this is saying that good energy is coming into you for that, and that continues to grow and develop. Likewise, for couples, there could be an improvement in a relationship that has happened recently. And so this is, again, a confirmation that, there's an improvement, and that improvement is continuing. And in fact, I think that for many of you, it's a very lucky relationship. There's a really deep luck here. There's a lot of promise. It's a trustworthy energy. For some of you, the person, especially if you're dating a man or this is concerning a man, you might find that they're distracted for a time. And I think that the Page of Pentacles is just reminding you that they are in some way, beginning a new path. They are in some way beginning a new path for themselves, or maybe for the both of you. And that's why they're distracted. They're just working in a different direction. Then we have the Three of Swords. Okay, so this is Saturn in Libra. And in this energy, I feel as though maybe some of this pulling away has to do with mending a broken heart. There's a level of disillusionment with other people here too. Not necessarily something big, but I think that you're looking at social relationships and you're just WTF kind of moment. You're like, why are these people like this? And I think you have to work your way through those thoughts, through those perceptions, and really heal them so you can move on. So you'll need some time over the next while to absorb that, work through that, and find resolution to that also in some way. Then we have the Eight of Swords. Eight of Swords is, let me think for a minute, that's Saturn in Aquarius. I always think Saturn in Aquarius. And so, no, Saturn and Gemini. I always get it mixed up because Saturn in Aquarius is the Six of Swords. Anyway, Five of Swords. Okay, so but either way, the Eight of Swords in this position means that you need some downtime to figure out your situation. There's some things that you're dealing with, like many of us are, that are difficult to navigate. Not everything is easy. Not everything is straightforward. Some things require more attention. Some things have little nooks to them that are difficult to figure out, that are difficult to work through. And so I think that you need some quiet time, some alone time at this time to kind of figure out how those things work, how those things function, and figure out your path through. The next message is the Page of Wands. Now, this is a warning, you guys. If you're around someone who is younger, possibly a fire sign, no shade to the fire signs, but some of you guys can be shady. All of us can be shady sometimes, right? So you have the Page of Wands, Sag, Leo, or Aries, secondary transits in Earth. This can mean that someone who's immature around you can take reckless action with regard to you at this time. And look at this. You have a lot going on. There's a lot of things in the air. There might be other people involved. And so there could be someone stirring the pot unintentionally or due to a lack of maturity. And so I think it's your best bet to get away from it. In some way, in certain instances, this devil is actually the Page of Wands. So if I'm pointing to this and you're like, that's my friend Claire, then at this time Claire is someone who you don't want to get too close to, okay? So it's not that Claire is a bad person necessarily, but maybe in this situation, they're acting against the better good of the collective in your social group or in your tribe, as they say. Here is the next message. We have the Six of Swords. Here we go. So you think that you're going to be moving on from a situation, but I don't think so. I think you're just renegotiating what it is or what the boundaries are in this situation. In fact, I think a lot of the circumstances that could be causing you strife or frustration at this time, they're going away pretty quickly for you. So in other words, I think that there's going to be a big focus on practical matters like setting up a new business, getting started with money things or material things. And then there's a really strong strain of relationship things going on as well, which is heavy bonding, heavy conversations with people and heart to heart. You might be telling other women's secrets or telling women's secrets and really bonding over some personal information, like working through things together and figuring them out. And so I believe that your focus at this time is in the realm of friendship. It's in the realm of companionship. And for some of you, it has to do with love. And then there's this mess that I'm telling you, I'm not an avoidant person. You guys know this. So what I'm saying here is avoid it. I'm really telling you this, and that's not my go-to advice. I just feel like it's like screaming at the ocean. Have you guys heard me say this before? When you scream at the ocean, it keeps coming at you. So screaming at the ocean is sometimes therapeutic, but oftentimes it's futile, especially if you want that to change. It's not going to change, right? We've got the Pacific on the West Coast, the Atlantic on the East Coast, and a bunch of oceans in between. And so you trying to change the messiness of other people and these situations is just futile. What I'm getting is that someone in your environment is messy. They're causing not necessarily distress, they're just messy. They're causing they're not acting at their best. And I think that you will forgive them. I don't think it's like a tragedy or a horrible issue. I think what you need to focus on is that they're causing you a lot more work than you were needing to do before. So they're causing you extra work. Here is the next message. We have the Strength card, which is the card of Leo. And what this represents is that for some of you, a Leo person is very important at this time. Sun, moon, and rising. Also, Leo season has been very instrumental. Some of you met someone very special during Leo season. So if you have met someone during Leo season, this is a strong indication that there's sparks of love, there's some kind of new beginning, there's some kind of wonderful, passionate thing. In fact, you're supposed to follow your passions. Get away from everything that's negative. Get away from everything that's kind of putting you down or in some way just bringing you down or being negative or, putting you in a lower vibrational state or making you face and deal with things that are essentially futile or just time waster energies. And so, and focus in on your passion, focus in on what you love, double down on those things, take some time out alone to do those things, rather than trying to, put those things on the shelf to be with others and to force the issue of what you think you should be doing, right? With social circumstances. I think that there's this energy for this full moon that has to do with, I just already said it, WTF. I can literally sense you kind of raising your eyebrow and being like, what are these people? Like, I think that there's this collective, like, when people look at each other and they're just like, what's going on? Like, why is this, like, these people are crazy? I think that, and sorry to all the crazy people out there, me being one of them, but anyway, it's kind of that WTF moment where you look at a lot of the people, not just in your environment, but like in media and public places, and you'll just be like, these people are nuts. These people, this is the Gong Show, you know? Okay, so here is the next message. We have the Five of Pentacles. Okay, so this can actually signal some issues with codependency that are kind of maybe making you feel wary. And I think that maybe one of the heartbreaks, this is a message for some of you, not all of you, but I feel like maybe in the past, some people were with some of you for ulterior motives. So like codependency, like they needed security, they needed help, or there was some other motivating factor for a relationship or friendship. And that really is coming up now, that working through those issues of being shy of other relationships, because in the past you were used for financial reasons or for disingenuine reasons. I think it's time for you to heal that. This is definitely coming up. Now, are you healing this fully? I don't think you're fully healing it. I think it's coming up to the surface a bit. So you're seeing it a little bit more. That doesn't mean that it's all going to get resolved right away, but there's an awareness point. There's a full moon in Pisces, of course, happening next month in September. I would say that this full moon, because it's a hybrid, it's really on the cusp of Pisces. I know some of you guys don't like cusp, but it's on the cusp of Pisces, and therefore it's going to carry the energy over into Pisces, which is a whole different frequency. It's going to be a fun month. But I think that some of the things that are getting started this month, right now with this full moon, they're going to get carried over into Pisces season. And in fact, I just kind of became aware of that at this time as I'm explaining it to you. So, I think that there's a little bit of carryover from the last new moon, or the last full moon, the last full moon initiated for us self-awareness, looking at the environment and picking up all the pieces of things that are going on. And like I said, we're supposed to be sponges. We're supposed to pick up on a lot of information and kind of internalize it and figure out what's going on. And then with this full moon, there will be some decisive actions, taking steps in particular directions, moving forward. And then those behaviors and those choices are going to carry over to the full moon in Pisces. And there's going to be an emotional catharsis. There's going to be an emotional resolution. So you don't have to rush this, in other words. You don't have to rush to resolve this. I think this is going to get resolved with Pisces full moon around then. And I think that this kind of history to do with, parasitic relationships, codependent relationship, that's also getting resolved in the next month. And then we have the Magician. Listen, there's a strong indication that someone around you is going to make a big move towards you. They're right here and here. There's definitely some initiation, some type of initiation, some kind of, really kind of setting a situation forward, instigation, in a positive way. The Magician in my cards, when I read them, represents someone who's making advances towards you. So someone who's like willing and able, He's got his staff, he's got his sword, he's got his cup, he's got his pentacle, and he has everything ready to use at his disposal to get what he wants. And so it's kind of like, it's not just a boyfriend card for me. It's the one in which signifies to me that there's some action to someone is initiating with yang energy something towards you. And because there's all these cards here, I think that this entire time something's leading up to something. So I'm excited for you guys. Oh, hello Uranus. So the Fool is ruled by Uranus. Hey guys. New beginning. I think something's taking you out of your current circumstances. There's also this energy here. I really strongly want to tell you to leave it alone. And now I see another layer to it, that something else is beginning, so you don't really need to pay attention to it because you're going to get pulled in a different direction anyway. Three of Wands, you're sitting there waiting, sitting and waiting and hoping. What is that song? It's a very famous song. If you guys can name it for me in the comments, I don't remember. Hoping and praying and something like that, right? It's like a mock-up of a 50s song. It's from a movie, I think. But anyway, so yeah, there's this kind of like waiting for something to come through, and maybe a little bit of this energy will be like not frustrating, but like why is this is messy? I'm in a good energy. I'm in a good vibe. But other than that, I think that things are pretty grounded. I think you're just annoyed at the fact, like, good things are going on and you just don't want the distraction, essentially. So I think that there's going to be I think you're going to be on the defensive a lot. I think many of us, we're going to be on the defensive. I think that we're not going to be so available with our time and our energy. And I think this is going to be a time when many people pull back into themselves to make sure that what they are getting and what they want is what they're getting. Like, they're being very picky and choosy about who, what, where, when, and why. Okay? So stay tuned. I'm going to do the members only part clarifier. Members, thank you. And then we're going to do the astrology and the activation of the different transits that I think are important to do with this week's astrology. Okay, thanks. Let's talk about your activated points or activated chart positions. This is a list that may coincide with your birthday or other significant event. Significant events are things like buying a home, beginning university, or getting your first job. If I mention a date that is meaningful to you, that means that the current transit of the full moon is in some way interacting with that chart's placement, and it may bring up issues or significance around the event. If your dates are not mentioned here, that just means that the current transit is not activating those chart positions. But this is not an exhaustive list. You can still consider many other aspects, as well as personal transits of Mars, Venus, Mercury, Moon, and Sun. But this is a way to get specific in a general reading. If you have events that happened in the same year, but maybe a different season or month, you are still experiencing a certain degree of this transit depending on where your placements are. It's just not going to be as direct or as intense in your chart. Recently, I introduced the concept of seasons to you guys. The reason that I do that is to convey a general period of time, as many of these transits don't coincide with a specific day, week, or even month, and may last up to a year or a couple years once activated. Also, the seasons I use are for the Northern Hemisphere. That means if you live in the Southern Hemisphere, please convert this to your seasons, meaning my spring becomes your autumn, but it's the same time frame, so just change it to your season instead. Today, I'm also going to cover the modalities and elemental dignities that I mentioned in the general astrology overview that's already posted and in the card in the corner. And I will explain to you how those interact with your placements, how the current transit interacts on that level with your placements. At the end of this section, I'm also adding a list of zodiac signs that are going to be most affected by the full moon, and I'll tell you in what way. So I hope you enjoy this. I'm having fun making them. Let me know your comments or questions down in the description. Let's begin. Okay, so like I mentioned, let's talk about fixed signs and air signs first. So if you have a fixed sign modality, meaning you're an Aquarian, Leo, Taurus, or Scorpio, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, Mars, you carry the same energetic frequency as the full moon of the fixed modality. This is a similar energy of the way that you go about expressing the energy that is in that position. But if your placements are at the end of those signs, they're actually forming harsh aspects to the full moon, either squares or oppositions. This can point to a conflict of interest that's coming up in your life, but that's not necessarily a negative thing, because even through conflict, we learn things and we hash things out. Things can be worked through very effectively for you at this time. I would not be worried. The specific degrees that are going to be most affected by this full moon is anything from about 25 degrees of the sign that is in question to the following sign 5 degrees or so. So for example, if you are an Aquarius 25 degrees to about a Pisces 5 degrees, your transits are interacting with this full moon the most. This is a good time to let things go or work things out. If something's bothering you, things may come to a head, but I think that that's a good energy anyway, because you're liberating yourself from things you don't like. So there's an extra push here for you to remove yourself from situations that are not necessarily in your favor. Now let's talk about elemental dignity. So if you are an Aquarian, Gemini, or Libra placements, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, Mars, etc., then you are an air sign, elemental dignity. Your energy coincides with the mind and cognition, ideas and thoughts. Your aspects are very harmonious with this full moon, and you will see a lot of push to get things accomplished in the direction that you want. Same as with the fixed signs, if your positions are in the latter part of these signs to the next sign, so Aquarius 25 degrees to about Pisces 5 degrees, Gemini 25 degrees to Taurus 5 degrees, or Libra 25 degrees to Scorpio 5 degrees, you have a big energetic push forming in your favor. So this is a very benefic. If you're an Aquarius, you can see that there's a little bit of good and a little bit of bad. So you will get a mix of both, and both things will be a factor in your happenings or whatever's happening around you. Okay, let's carry on. Okay, so let's cover some good news. If you were born in 1950 in the spring or autumn, 1962 in the spring, 1974 in the late winter, that's January or February at the beginning of the year, 1986, 1998, and 2010 in the late winter, so same January, February time, then this is an extremely lucky full moon for you, and it's your Jupiter return. So over the next several months, up to a year, you will see the positive effects of the current Jupiter transit, which is hitting the exact same position as the event or birthday in those dates. If you're born in 1964 in the spring or autumn, 1993 in the spring or summer, 1994 in the late winter, again that's January, February, you're also going through a wonderful transit at this time. Anything that's built up in your life that's stressful, anything that's really piled up or become an obstacle for you will be greatly reduced or completely removed through this full moon. So take a look at your life. What is the thing that's really pushing you down or in your way? It's very likely that the pressure from this will be greatly alleviated by the full moon. As I said in the previous section, the Aquarian transits are going through a lot at this time. So if you have those placements, 25 degrees Aquarius to about 5 degrees Pisces, Venus, Mars, Mercury, Sun, or Moon, then you are going to have those transits activated. And the more transits that you have in that position, the more strong the energy is for your advancement, progress, and resolution. This full moon brings a lot of clarity, and so many of you will be coming into powerful realizations about things in your life, or if certain truths are hidden, they will be uncovered at this time. Okay, so let's talk about the hard-working group, which is 1962 in the spring, summer, or winter, 1992, January or February. So you are going through your Saturn return. The 90s group is going through a much more intense return, as the first return tends to hit people harder than the latter one, the one when you're in your 50s. There's another Saturn return later on in life, but oftentimes we don't talk about it so much because by that time people's lives have resolved and now they are in their golden years. So I'd like to think that the third Saturn return is a blissful time for people in which they enjoy the fruit of their accomplishments and everything that they've put work into in their life. But let's talk about the first two groups. So basically what's going on is at this time, there's a bit of an audit going on in your life, which means the things that you've been doing are going to be under somewhat of a microscope. If you are doing the things that are benefic for your outcomes and your direction in life, then those things will be mildly rewarded and you'll feel a sense of accomplishment. But if you've been pushing in the wrong direction, maybe because of ego or other things that you still need to grow in, or just circumstances that have pushed you in a direction that you wouldn't normally choose on your own, it's very likely that those things will fracture and fragment and you will be released to go freely in the direction you should. And very often in this second part, if you are being released from things that are unlike yourself or not good to your destiny, you will also be put on a course of action or circumstances that will lead you in a positive direction. This is definitely an intense transit, but not a bad one. It's actually very healthy. It's a healthy change. If you were born in 1997 in the spring or summer, 1998 in January or February or October, you're facing a transit not many of us face when we're adults, and that is a big pressure on you to not change in areas of life where you take on change quite a lot. So wherever in your life you're quite flexible and that's how you get through it, doing things, at that time you will be challenged, or at this time you will be challenged to keep consistent, keep on point, don't change the subject, and keep focus on what you're doing. So for example, if you tend to work as a contractor, meaning your contracts are short-term and that allows you a certain degree of change in your life, so that if you're in a bad work environment, you can simply leave after 6 months to a year or however long your contract's for. At this time, you may actually find yourself in a job that will not have room for change. It might be a semi-permanent position, and all those reasons why the contract worked for you in the past may come up as challenges for you to work through and muscle your way through. So the point here is that you keep consistent in an area of life where you tend to choose change. Look at the house placement in your natal chart to understand what area of life that is. If you were born in 1956 in the spring, summer, or winter, 2006 in the spring or summer, 2007 in January, have a lot of compassion for yourself. You're going through a transit of Saturn over your natal Chiron, which can be a big finger pointing energy, meaning you can feel like the finger is being pointed directly at you, or you're pointing the finger at yourself, and maybe even criticizing yourself for things that you haven't achieved or obstacles you haven't overcome. This is not a time for self-judgment. This is a time for self-acceptance. If you want to do work at this time on yourself, it has to be through the lens of self-acceptance instead of self-punishment. If you want to use this as a learning opportunity to learn what you can get better in, what kind of things you need to change to find progress on, by all means do that. But don't let this transit become you hating on yourself or allowing someone else to hate on you. This is a transit that requires a lot of self-acceptance and forgiveness. So for the next 6 months, be very tolerant with yourself and where you find yourself. Forgive yourself for where you're not, and understand that we have all obstacles that limit our progress. None of us live in perfect conditions, and there's no reason to hate yourself for what you didn't achieve or what didn't happen. Okay, so let's talk about the 3 squares between Uranus and Saturn in 2021. So the last group of people, my hard work people, the 3 different sets of dates that I mentioned, you're triggered by January 2021 square the most. That means that square in January was very impactful, and most of the successive squares in June and December are going to reference that January square the most. If you were born in 1963 in January, February, 1999 in the fall and winter, 1957 in the fall and winter, or if you had an event come up in 2007 in the spring or summer, that June square we just had, 2021, is very important for you. So whatever events came up for you at that time will be in reference to the earlier square in January and the latter square in December. There's going to be a 3rd square in November 2022. It's going to be much more mild than these set of 3. but I gather that it's going to be a big catharsis and resolution to whatever's been coming up for all these groups now. If you were born in 1962 in the spring, 1963 in January, 1992 in February or the fall, 1988 in the spring, 1998 in the summer, 1999 in January, 1956 in the spring, 1957 in January, February, 2007 in February, summer, or winter. The December square between Uranus and Saturn is going to be very impactful for you. It's actually the reason why I'm mentioning these at this time, as when Uranus turned retrograde, I see that as this third chapter beginning. I explain that more in the astrological full moon video. I'll link in the cards and the description in your full moon playlist. Suffice it to say, the events that will come up then in December will be in reference to the June and January square foreshadow period, so you probably already have experienced some insights about what's coming up, and the great success for you will be in preparation. You have several months to get ready. You have several months to recognize what you need to take care of, and even some of these things you will get the opportunity to take care of early. So get ready now, and it's going to be an interesting and transformative time for you. Okay, so we've been talking about Saturn a lot, so now let's move on for some loving transits. This isn't necessarily about love, but a lot to do with self-acceptance and emotional healing. So if you were born in 1995 or 96 in the spring or summer, in 1945 in the autumn, you're going through a huge period of emotional healing at this time. This is a much faster transit, so it won't last more than a week or two, but through this time you will experience a great degree of self-acceptance and acceptance from others that will trigger opportunities to heal and move on from bad situations in the past. If you were born in 1951 in the autumn, 1980 or 81 in the winter, so that's December, January, February, or 2010 in January, there's a really huge mirror energy happening at this time. In the astrological overview video for the full moon, I mentioned the big kite formation that is over us. In short, your placements are very complementary to this kite formation. It's like missing pieces of the puzzle are fitting into your chart probably the best. This means that you are feeling a big push forward towards important directions that were not accessible to you before that. And even more specifically, if you were born on the following exact dates, this is a major activation point for you. So if you were born in 1951, January 13th, give or take a day, February 10th, 1981, or January 24th, 2010, give or take a day, your transits are in almost a perfect mirror to this kite formation that's pushing us all collectively forward. And you may be reaching very important milestones at this time in your life. If you're watching this and you do have significant events on that date, or it's your birthday, would you please let us know in the comments and tell us what's going on in your life? So here's more healing transits. So if you were born in 1947 in the autumn, 1951 in the autumn, 1971 in the autumn, 1983 in the wintertime, or 1995 in the summer, this is a lucky turn of events to do with the past. Especially if you feel like the events from that time have kept you back from moving forward, you might see significant changes and a release towards your destiny, towards your future. An obstacle may be removed at this time. I forgot to mention this in the beginning, so I'll just throw it in now, but this is true for everyone. So if you were alive in 1995, all of you who are watching could be looking back at those dates and see if something came up for you, if there was an event in your life that trickled out into today, and you can look at how that event has an impact on your life and see if there is any progress away from it or through it at this time, or maybe it's a point of motivation. If you were born in 1949 in the winter, spring, or fall, 1999 in November or December, this is a magical time in your life. If you were born in 1949, it might have taken this long for a big release to happen in your life. A final overcoming of things that have held you back for way too long. Conversely, if you were born in 1999, you get this release early on in life. So if you have been living with something thus far that's been difficult or limiting, it's very likely that you get a big release of those blockages at this time, and you will get to spend the rest of your life with relative freedom and ease. If you have personal transits at about 7 degrees of Sagittarius, that means Venus, Mars, Mercury, Sun, and the Moon, your blueprint is changing, especially with regard to what areas of life that transit governs. Venus for love, Mars for action, Mercury for communication, and so forth. So you're really being set free, and like I said, your blueprint is changing. Moving forward, you will be allowed to live by different rules that you either impose on yourself or create for yourself, or that your environment allows you to. All 3 of the last sets of dates that I mentioned under the Big Release of Troubles headline are going through one of the most transformative points in their life. Likewise, Sagittarians are going through a lot that I'll get to in a minute. So here is a list of signs that are affected by zodiac sign. This includes your personal planets, Venus, Mars, Mercury, Sun, and the Moon. So the luckiest signs for love at this time are Aries, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. All 4 of these signs have good transits in their relationship houses. They're very outward focused at this time, ready to connect, and connection will come relatively easily for them. Regarding money transits, the 3 earth signs, Capricorn, Virgo, and Taurus placements are going to have a very good energy with this full moon. To add to this, Cancer is going to do very well with money at this time. In fact, they will very likely get money from an outside source, such as a gift or some other kind of exchange. When we say money, it doesn't necessarily mean cold hard cash. It can mean valuable objects or something else that is of value to you. The luckiest transit hands down is Leo. You have Sun conjunct Regulus, and this is a very rare conjunction for a full moon or a new moon. It doesn't happen every year. So Leos, get out there, be proud, do whatever's coming your way. The energy is very good for you at this time. I have some special info for 3 signs. Scorpios, you are almost in the luckiest category, but your energy is a lot more tempered than Leo's. Your luck revolves around money, specifically about property, buying homes, buying real estate. Anything to do with big ticket purchases is in your favor now. Pisces, your energy has a lot to do with preparation at this time. So maybe in and of itself, it's not the most robust or positive outcome yet, but I think that you have a great self-starter energy, meaning whatever you're applying your energy to and put your thoughts behind will yield really wonderful outcomes. This includes your relationships with other people. Last but not least is Sagittarius. Sagittarius, as I recently said, are going through a massive release in their sign. That means that no matter what placement you have in Sagittarius, you are releasing and purging and moving forward, especially on things that were stuck and were unyielding before. Now you get to move forward with that. Thanks everyone for listening. I hope you enjoyed this segment, and I will talk with you soon. Take care. Since posting the original astrology overview for the full moon, there has been new astrological symmetry that has emerged, as well as world events that coincide with the astrology I was describing. To understand this a bit deeper, I encourage that you watch the astrology overview for the full moon that is linked in the description and in the cards in the corner. After I posted the video on the astrology for the full moon, the federal government of Canada announced an election for September 20th. This coincides with the full moon in Pisces that I talked about in the video. What I said is that the energy of the full moon in Aquarius will work itself out over the next month until the full moon of Pisces consolidates this energy. That is the same full moon on which the election will be held. To add to this, I highlighted the kite transit in the astrological overview for the full moon. This transit will once again be completed in September by Mars and by Mercury. The Mars activation will coincide with the day of the election and the full moon. This means that whatever comes up for us in our emotions with the Venus transit in that position now will be triggered by Mars in September alongside the full moon. The other activation point will be Mercury that I will discuss in other videos. I will talk about all of this in September when we explore the Libra September transits, with a strong focus on Mercury as it prepares its retrograde period. As an addendum to the comments about the federal election in Canada, I had a peek at the astrology of the main candidates, and I noticed that the Prime Minister of Canada is born at the beginning of Capricorn energy. This will be on a direct square to the transit of Mars in Libra at that time, and Mercury will be in its shadow period. This means that Mercury will be just days before its retrograde period starts, a very sensitive time. I guess they don't use astrologers to decide when to call an election, but seeing the Mars transit promises to be a difficult campaign for the party. Let me know if you have your own observations about this in the comments. Enjoy the full moon, live with your heart, do not be discouraged by the dishonesty of the people around you. Forage for new alliances, as your future demands authenticity and health from within you now. Happy full moon.